I have this community that we created where we come together as one, and we share ideas. We teach fundamental investing, and these are the type of conversations that we have in a community. So if you're interested in getting into a community of like-minded people that's going to continue to push you forward and help you grow as an investor, join the community. Link is in the description. The link is pinned to the top of the chat, man. All right, so next, we just gonna keep it moving. All right, now we got NVIDIA. All right, we got NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang that's talking about AI memory partnerships in Korea. He is breaking the news. Some of these energy companies, these memory companies are continuing to do so well, right? And recently we've seen a pullback in our energy companies. Memory companies, and now we are seeing new partnerships, and it's just going to continue to enforce the importance of memory when it comes to artificial intelligence. Let's see what he got to say.
And I think we just start with the basics. Like Korea is incredibly important to the AI build out globally. We'll get into high bandwidth memory, but just from this summit, from the president being here, what is the takeaway? What is it you're trying to achieve?
Well, we're announcing a whole bunch of partnerships with them. This is the golden ages for Korea, as you know. Their semiconductor business is booming. Their industrial business is booming. You know, this is a country that has the ability to help the world build out the AI infrastructure. That they're incredibly adept at adopting new technologies, and is a really technologically forward-leaning society. And they love using AI. AI has really diffused throughout their society and their industry. And so this is a great time for them. We're announcing several things. We announced a big partnership with SK Group, where our companies are going to enter into a business partnership where we do over $500 billion of business with each other, whether it's consumption of and purchasing of memories or selling AI supercomputers to them as they scale out 2 gigawatts of AI factories. There's a whole bunch of other announcements. We're investing $1 billion in Naver to help. They're the Korea's leading AI cloud. They're going to scale up in Korea up to they're going to scale up 200 megawatts, I think it is. They're going to expand across the world, and so we have a whole bunch of announcements that we're
more direct involvement with NVIDIA on the roadmap for HBM, future generations of HBM. Talk about that. You know, I remember you being on stage earlier this year saying 5 years ago we told our supply chain what was going to happen, and it did happen. And you gave some credit to the memory makers in going with you on that journey. But clearly you want to be involved in the direction of travel for future generations of HBM.
Yeah, we're working together on, of course, we started with HBM2, worked on HBM3, 3E, 4, 4E, and then beyond. And so we've got a whole roadmap of memories that we're working on together. It is also the case that the semiconductor industry has really changed. And the reason for that, because we used to build computers for people to use, and we're going to still continue to build incredible computers. These are now processing AIs for humans to collaborate with. But in the future, we also have AI agents and robots, and they're going to be using computers. So instead of just 1 billion people using computers, we're going to have 100 billion agents and billions of robots all using computers. The computer industry, the chip that's built on top of the chip industry, surely is not big enough. This is one of the realizations of the semiconductor industry, that now computers to use.
Oh man, let's take a break. Let's all right. So let's bring it back, because we're gonna get into what he's talking about in a second. But I want to bring it back to his initial statement about his in partnership, the golden age of high bandwidth memory, or HBM. $500 billion partnership with SK Hynix. 500 billion would it be? All right. Basically supplying and co-development deal for next generation high bandwidth memory. So basically they signed a multi-year agreement to co-develop AI memory tailored for NVIDIA's Vera Rubin supercomputers, CPUs, and robotic platforms, right? So NVIDIA is looking at this and saying, how can I do business with you, being a memory AI company, so that I can build my chips to be better in the future, right? They have also, NVIDIA has also done partnerships with Hyundai Motor Group, right, to develop next generation autonomous Genesis vehicles for Hyundai, right, using 50,000 NVIDIA Blackwell GPUs to accelerate its data systems. They have also done partnerships with Hyundai Robotics when it comes to some of the robotics hub that's in Korea, right? Jensen Huang is talking about how robotics will then be also utilizing computers. So humans utilizing computers, so robots using computers, right? And this goes all the way back to, again, what we talked about with AMD when it comes to agentic AI. When we talked about memory and the memory that's needed, a robot need to have a memory too, right? So when we talked about memory, when it comes to the AI space, Microns, SK Hynix, SanDisk, etc., we need to understand that memory ain't going away. It's only going to increase. The demand for memory is only going to go up. It's not going to come down. The demand for AI energy and how we power all of these things, these systems, these data, right? These robots that's also that's not going away. You as an investor have to take advantage of these opportunities because we are in like the second, third, and fourth inning. It's a 9-inning game. We still in the second and third inning. We haven't even got to robots yet, like at a high, large scale across the board in industries. We've started to see it. Some of our manufacturers, obviously Amazon and companies like that, we're starting to see robots in hospitals. We're starting to see robots even in some of the airline, airports. We're starting to see some things. We obviously got some robots that's coming in our home, cleaning our floors, things like that. But I'm talking about large scale robots in your home, in business, doing tasks X, Y, and Z. That is still to come. But it's important that we understand as an investor how we should be utilizing our money to grow wealth, utilizing some of these talking points, right? Bandwidth, memory, semiconductors, chips, energy, robots, etc. It's all telling you where we're going. All right. So when we listen to the CEOs of some of the biggest companies in the world that understand and know where we're going, take the things that they're saying, do your research, and execute on some of these opportunities that we see out here right now. Because in about 3 to 4 or 5 years, a lot of this AI conversation is going to be like in the market. It's just going to be washed out, right? So, definitely continue to listen to what he's talking about, and let's continue to learn.
My guess is that the semiconductor industry is probably going to have to be 10 times larger than it is today over the next decade or so. And so working with our partners in Korea and around the world to scale up the supply chain of semiconductors so that we're prepared for this AI.
Yeah, but how much to kind of get going to increase for NVIDIA-based systems wherever they are?
And power and construction workers to set up the data centers. I think this is one of the areas that's is going to make sure that we continue to build out in a throttled way, for a decade. And the reason for that is because these infrastructure, unlike electronic devices like PCs and phones and things like that, it's really, really hard to scale up land, power, and shell. And so all of the supply chain just really needs to get built out of the. I think we have the ability as an industry to.
The $500 billion number is large. Would you just talk a little bit more about what it encompasses? We've gone over a lot on your commitment to the US in terms of spending. Mm-hmm. Is that NVIDIA spending in the Korean economy, or it's SK fronting capital expenditures? Just a little bit more detail.
We're gonna be purchasing memories from them for many years to come, And as you know, we build a lot of computers. In order to build $1 trillion worth of their Rubin systems, you buy a lot of system memories to go with it. And so we have large purchase agreements and purchase intentions with SK. While SK going to become, and they're going to work on your. So
and at the end of the conversation, we got to what is the difference in approach, the academic difference in approach on AI between the United States and China. And his view on it was that China is very focused on lowering the dollar per token. In America, we're still focused on the quality of tokens. I wondered what you think of that.
The goal of produce an intelligent, a smart answer. Now, you could approach it in a couple of different ways. You could, of course, make all of the tokens smarter and smarter, and as a result in using less tokens to do so. You could also produce AIs that are much more efficient, and maybe you can think longer, explore more options, and as a result produce a smart answer. There are many different ways to reach intelligence and deliver smart answers. In the end, really, I think you got to take a step back and just realize that both countries has extraordinary AI researchers, and whatever conditions and whatever resources that they have, amazing people will find great answers. And so my expectation is that China and the United States will continue to advance AI. The conditions are different, the resources are different, their constraints are different, but these amazing researchers will find answers. And I think that in the case of China, they're producing more AI researchers than probably all of the world has, in any given year. And so they're producing, if manufacturing intelligence is important, they manufacture the most important version of it, which is the researchers. And so this is an area, a country that's going to produce excellent AI technology. We ought to continue to learn from them, work with them. As you know, you're here in Silicon Valley, right here in San Francisco. The number of AI researchers here that came from China that are Chinese is really quite significant. And so, we're really fortunate to have them here, and we just got to keep on racing.
You made your first post on X.
I did.
And you did so by sharing a letter signed by many of your peers, American companies, to talk about the importance of open models to America, to the industry, to the development of AI. And in the letter, it's pretty well explained, your rationale. But what was the catalyst for now? Why did you and Satya Nadella and others need to do that in this moment?
Well, we sense that there's a growing sentiment that and the wrong sentiment for open models. It's really important to realize open models is essential for security, for cybersecurity. Open models are essential for innovation. It's necessary for startups. It's necessary for sovereignty, company sovereignty. I see a future where the world uses tons of closed models, and I encourage everybody, including my company, to use OpenAI and Claude and Cursor and Cognition and Perplexity. Use everything that you can because it's out of the cloud, because it's just easier. And you build only what you must. And so in order to build what you must, you need to have open models to do that with. The areas where we must, maybe it's because we have expertise that we simply cannot afford to share. This is our company's alpha, our company's intelligence, and we have to make sure we keep that proprietary. Maybe it's because our company works in an industry that's regulated, and therefore we simply can't pass along the service level agreement, and we have to make sure that we can deliver fully on the service and the promise that we sign up for. Maybe it's something to do with sovereignty that you simply, in a particular country, you have to have your own AI. You have to control your own AI.
I think it's important that we take what Jensen Huang is saying, as well as Lisa Su, and we, we tackle the 2 to 3 things that we need to take out of it, right? One is the semiconductor space, the AI memory space, the compute space is still it's still powerful. There is no, issues with demand, right? We seen TSM's earnings report about a week or so ago where they are continuing to forecast amazing growth for the future of semiconductors over the next 2 years, right? We know NVIDIA is doing partnerships and making deals to ensure that their compute AI infrastructure, as well as their bandwidth memory and their chips, are continuing to be elevated and will continue to be elevated, right? Lisa Su talked about the future of AI is still really, really great, right? So when you are looking at your investments and you are taking the time to think about what you want to invest in, this is definitely a industry, not just semiconductors and AI by itself, but also the layers of it, the memory space, the compute space, the requirement of energy in this space, all of those things infrastructure wise, it's important to look at to possibly invest